Welcome to the Joy of Cruising podcast with your host, award-winning author Paul C. Thornton, a weekly conversation with the amazing cruisers featured in the Joy of Cruising books, comprised of The Joy of Cruising, Cruising Interrupted, new release, The Joy of Cruising Again, as well as other fun, informative global cruise personalities. It's the next best thing to cruising, hearing about cruising from the unique and diverse perspectives of Paul's amazing guests. If you hear about a cruise that interests you, book it at www.thejoyofacation.com or enter to win a free cruise for two. Again, www.thejoyofacation.com. We really appreciate your feedback, so leave us a text. Paul can't reply, but he may read your text on the air.
Hello, passionate cruisers. This is Paul. And this week on the Joy of Cruising podcast, I am delighted to welcome back a special guest, my co-host, Cheryl.
Hi.
We are largely in the bucket list checking stage of our lives and just got the opportunity to check one off, a sailing on a luxury cruise line, specifically Explora Journeys and its first ship, Explora I. Let me preface with a real brief overview on the main categories of cruise lines. There's Mainstream, which is like Carnival, Royal Caribbean, and Norwegian Cruise Line, NCL. There's Premium, which is Celebrity, Holland America, Princess, Virgin Voyages, and Disney. And then there's Luxury, which are considered, the top ones are considered Regent Seven Seas, Seabourn, Crystal, and Windstar. Now you can argue with those classifications, but that's kind of accepted in the cruising world, and where you're more likely to get arguments about these cruise lines or about those cruise lines on the edge between categories. When we decided on Explora Journeys, it was not even on our luxury cruise radar. The luxury lines just mentioned were. This aspiration to cruise and luxury was decidedly low on the bucket list simply due to affordability. We have so many more affordable bucket list items, like going to the Panama Canal this fall. Then Explora Journeys surprisingly dominated the luxury category of the 2024 Cruise Critics Awards, just a short time before I hosted Colleen McDaniels on the podcast. And Colleen happens to be the editor-in-chief of Cruise Critic. Not only did Colleen pique my interest by sharing her own experience on Explora Journeys, but she turned me on to some Explora promotions still going on that had me researching as soon as the call ended with Colleen. That research confirmed Colleen's mention of attractive pricing, and it led me to several podcast guests who could talk about their experiences on Explora Journeys, including Kathy Liu, an executive with Explora Journeys.
We experienced Explora I, the first ship of the new luxury cruise line Explora Journeys, owned by the very deep-pocketed Mediterranean shipping company MSC, the world's largest container shipping company, and owners of MSC Cruises in addition to Explora Journeys. Explora I came out in 2023, and Explora II in 2024, and Explora III is slated for 2026. Our itinerary was called a 9-day journey to barrier reefs of Mexico, Belize, and Honduras, embarking from Miami and stopping in Santo Tomas, Guatemala, Roatan, Honduras, the country of Belize, Cozumel, Mexico, and Costa Maya, Mexico. We boarded on Monday, March 24th, welcomed by Captain Diego Michelozzi and his staff. Boarding Explora I was pleasant and uneventful. We had interacted with the company in advance to choose spirits we wanted in our cabin upon arrival. I chose white wine, and Paul chose Buffalo Trace bourbon. In addition, the refrigerator was filled with various soft drinks and cans of beer. When we were called to select beverages, we were asked a series of questions we weren't expecting. Did we want firm pillows or soft pillows? We chose one of each. Then we were asked if we wanted our mattress firm or flexible. We chose flexible. In response to another inquiry, I chose an extra blanket. Regarding the toiletries in the bathroom, did we want scented or unscented? I guess that's par for the course for luxury traveling, but we felt a little like celebrity. By the way, this is not a review, just our random remarks about what we experienced. And that was largely relaxing, eating, and following NBA basketball, where we are fanatics of opposing teams. So this is just Explora Journeys from our perspective. Upon boarding, we were met with glasses of champagne, which we dutifully accepted, but Paul was already heading his way to the Emporium Marketplace.
I recently did a podcast and the guest asked me, what is the first thing I do upon boarding a ship? And I responded that my traditional first thing is to find a bar, generally on the Lido deck, where I can order a Miami Vice. I added that for my upcoming cruise on Explora I, would first go to the Emporium because its reputation precedes it. I had heard so much about the Emporium Marketplace from guests, as well as seen it on YouTube reviews. Some reviews refer to it as Explorer's Buffet. You won't hear me say that, nor will you hear the Emporium referred to that way by any of the staff, who are known, by the way, as hosts. The Emporium Marketplace was much more akin to a food hall, although by far the grandest food hall I have been in. At sea, the closest analog is the galley on Virgin Voyages, which we love. Think of the Emporium Marketplace as the galley amplified tenfold. All of the food was specialty restaurant quality, and accordingly, we had all our lunches, several dinners, and a single breakfast there. Let's briefly walk you through the Emporium, the place that I suspect you will spend a lot of time. None of these stations, by the way, do you serve yourself. The first station you come to is sushi, where there are several chefs who prepare it to order. My favorite was to just get a sampler of everything. There was another place to get sushi made to order, and that was at Sakura, one of the included specialty restaurants. But let's go back to the Emporium Marketplace. The next station was an instant hit that I visited first every time I came into the Emporium. It was a ceviche bar where there was a rotating selection of pre-made ceviches, crab, lobster, smoked whitefish, herring, as well as a make-your-own bar. So I always had one or two of the pre-made ones, but then would get them topped off with avocado from the make-your-own because I love avocado on top of ceviche. At dinner, the ceviche bar shared space with raw bar items like mussels, oysters, crab claws, crab legs, and shrimp cocktail. Right beside the ceviche bar was an area called Jewels of the Sea, where various items like shrimp at lunch and lobster tails at dinner would be grilled on request. Yes, unlimited grilled lobster tails every night. Continuing past the grill area is a seafood soup or stew or casserole. Two very memorable offerings was the cioppino fish stew and the shrimp curry over white rice. The next area was called al dente and included an unending selection of pastas you could have cooked to order. An area called destinations, which carried a changing variety of international seafood and meat dishes and soups. Of course, there was a grill for hamburgers, salmon burgers, pork chops, thin steaks, and the like. There was a wok of the day station, and there was the mosaic carvery, On my one day of trying it, it had lamb in pesto sauce and prime rib with horseradish and au jus. Now, we're still in the Emporium, and we are not even close to covering all of the station. At the fromagerie, they knew my name, as I daily tried the variety of cheeses and olives from all over the world. Right adjacent was a salad area. I always opted for handmade Caesar salad with anchovy. I also was a regular there, as I would come for anchovies for them to put on top of my pizza. Speaking of pizza, Explora Journeys is my new number one in pizza, edging out its sister cruise line, MSC Cruises. The pizza is unbelievably thin, not really like MSC's. It reminds me most of a pizza that you would find in Italy. Given its location in the Emporium, it is subject to a vast number of toppings. Yes, pizza with grilled lobster. Another section was all about fruits, sweets, and a nectar juicer. We ate breakfast in the Emporium on disembarkation day, and it was a wonderful experience. Probably should have tried it sooner, although we got very comfortable with having our breakfast delivered to our room each morning.
We decided to head to our room. Our luggage had been dropped off in the room. The room was gorgeous, much bigger than any we had before. The cabin stayed relatively organized and roomy because it contained a large walk-in closet, dressing room, which enabled us to keep a lot of stuff out of sight. The bathroom was almost perfect. It included a rectangular-shaped, largest shower we had ever encountered. To illustrate, there were 2 towels on the wall opposite the 2 shower heads, the rain shower head and one that could be handheld. Even at its highest volume, the water from the shower head didn't come close to get the towels wet. And let me tell you about those towels. Each of those towels, there were 2 more hanging outside the shower, were full body size and were the softest I had ever felt on my body. So I found the brand and looked the towels up online. FYI, they were selling for 2 for $104. We only had 1 sink, which was a bit of a surprise because we had double sinks before in smaller bathrooms, but it was not a big deal. And accordingly, there was a ton of counter space. Then, a first for us, heated floors in the bathroom. When you step out of the bathroom, we were in the dressing room, walk-in closet. The rest of the cabin was laid out similar to non-suites we were used to, except everything seemed somewhat larger. The bed was a true king-size bed. The room contained one of the larger TVs we had experienced and a nice-sized sitting area to watch it. The balcony was about 1.5 times the size of a traditional balcony. It had 2 chairs and a table and a large lounging chair the size of a small sofa.
Besides the cabin size, dressing room, and heated floors, the other thing that set the cabin off versus other cruise line cabins is that it was accessorized to feel more like a living space, with knickknacks on a room divider and real books that one might want to pick up and read during the cruise. One book that I have started in my personal collection but I have not yet finished was on the shelf, Barack Obama's A Promised Land. We had a very attentive room steward who serviced the room twice a day. He quickly picked up on our preferences of providing a full bottle of still water and a full bottle of sparkling water and a certain number of washcloths each day. Now is probably a good time to point out that we have never received such genuinely friendly service everywhere on the ship than what we received on Explora I. On embarkation night and virtually every other night, One or both of our NBA teams were playing, respectively Cheryl's Golden State Warriors and my Los Angeles Lakers. We rarely miss a game at home, and on Explorer, the end of the season was heating up. Explorer's included internet was rock solid, and a clear advantage over Virgin Voyages, which likewise includes internet for each person in the cabin, is that Explora Journeys includes the highest tier of streaming, while Virgin Voyages charges extra for that higher tier. Before heading off to dinner, we checked out the lobby bar, which is kind of a centerpiece bar in an area covering 2 floors. The bar had an amazing menu of drinks, a few of which I recognized, but many of which were new to me. And according to one bartender we met, were offered by bartenders like himself when he was hired from hotels in India. By the way, he had never been on a cruise ship before joining Explora Journeys. That was not surprising to hear, as it is my understanding that Explorer routinely hires from the hotel industry in an effort to further their aim as coming across like a luxury boutique land hotel. We opted to eat dinner embarkation night at one of the included specialty restaurants, the Med Yacht Club, which specializes in a Mediterranean menu. We chose to eat at Med Yacht Club first because I had read that one of their starters is a mussels dish, and that is likely to run out if you wait too long in the cruise. We were not disappointed at all.
I believe I ordered the shrimp shaganaki and the local fish, but of course Paul remembers everything he eats. Paul had the mussels appetizer, beef carpaccio, and grilled octopus starters, and the Dover sole was filleted at the table. The meal was outstanding, as was everything else we ate on Explorer 1. So get ready to hear that over and over again. In the morning, we began a tradition we would repeat every day except debarkation day. That is, room service for full breakfast. Room service was available and included 24 hours a day. We ordered omelets, salmon, and bagels, avocado toast, pecan waffles, oatmeal, fruit, and coffee, juices, and protein shakes each day while watching the news and wondering what's going to happen next.
The specialty restaurants also selectively offered breakfast or lunch on certain days. But with the excellent Emporium, we just never chose to take advantage of that. We met someone later in the cruise who was crossing Explorer 1 for 60 days. So, of course, an extended trip like that, I would try everything available to us. While on the subject of specialty restaurants, let's talk about the others we visited after the Med Yacht Club. The next one we visited was Marble & Co. Their steakhouse renowned for the fact that they aged their steaks on board.
I started with my usual starter whenever available, a lump crab cake, and it was loaded with crab meat. We both opted for Caesar salad made at the table. It brought back memories of one of our date spots in Wilmington, Delaware, of a restaurant who did that in a much more elegant manner, and our love for Caesar salad date back to those days. My main was terre et mere. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. It was grilled mashed potatoes under veal medallions and topped with a lobster tail. My dessert was Explora Journeys signature chocolate brownies. Everything was absolutely superb. Paul went with 3 starters. Marble & Company's signature starter is crushed fingerling potatoes with Normandy butter, topped with an ample amount of caviar. He thought it was delicious and almost ordered another, but as I just told you, he had 3 starters in all. For the second starter, he joined me in having a tableside Caesar salad, and then his third starter was lobster bisque.
I have been on the hunt for the perfect lobster bisque for years. Most taste canned or processed with very little hint of real lobster. This was easily the best I have had, characterized by two major differences. It was given an ample amount of Irish whiskey. I meant to take a short video of them adding the whiskey, but I forgot. And it also had plenty of pieces of lobster. They were small, but in other versions, they're all but invisible. I also had a side of fried Brussels sprouts, and then my main was a small cut of filet from France. Our next visit to a specialty restaurant was to Explora's French entrant. This, in my opinion, may have been the best. They had great starters, and I did not hold back trying 3. For the first time, I tried scallops carpaccio with caviar. I was amazed at how thinly cut the scallops were, and it was very good. I will order scallops carpaccio again. Of course, I had to try my cruise tradition, escargot. This was served in a different form than what I am used to on cruise ships, which are typically very small, served swimming in garlic butter, or even different is the way that they are served in France, which is typically in a shell. This dish was called casserole of Burgundy escargot, and it was served in chive garlic cream sauce. The escargot were twice the size I am used to, and the sauce appeared a less than appetizing lime green, but man, were they good. For my main, I went with fresh Maine lobster, and for dessert, tried something called a selection of cream pots, which was a delicious treat, the consistency of chocolate mousse.
I had, of course, my usual crab cake as a starter. The next specialty restaurant we tried was Sakura, a beautiful Pan-Asian restaurant decorated pleasantly in cherry blossoms suspended from the ceiling. We were excited about Sakura as a couple of previous guests on the Joy of Cruising podcast chose it as their favorite. I ordered for my main course applewood smoked lamb rack. Paul ordered gyozo, hope I'm saying that right, as his starter, a mix of cod, tiger prawns, and caviar. His main was marinated bay scallop, which also contained caviar. By now, I think you know Paul is a fan of caviar. He finished with coconut sorbet. There is one other specialty restaurant, Anthology, staffed by rotating Michelin-rated chefs. There's an extra charge for Anthology, which I hear is outstanding for dinner, but we did not try it. In addition, there's a series of culinary enrichment journeys, like a Taste of the Med or a Taste of the Caribbean, extra cost cooking classes and demonstrations held at the chef's kitchen.
One regret about the specialty restaurants. Between lunches and dinners, we fully expected to visit each restaurant at least twice. So the first time we visited each, I kind of picked out something I wanted to try the next time. Alas, I would have to pass on lobster pan thai at Sakura. There never was the next time. We didn't realize how good the food and Emporium Marketplace would turn out to be. So we only made it to one specialty restaurant twice, and that turned out to be the steakhouse, Marble and Co. Well, that is one of the many rationalizations I have to go back on Explore. On my second visit to Marble and Company, I repeated my starters: tableside Caesar salad, single malt whiskey lobster bisque, and their signature fingerling potatoes with sublime caviar. Imagine me when I was growing up in Bed-Stuy ruminating about sublime caviar. For my main, I had what Cheryl had the first time here: veal cutlets and lobster tail. Cheryl went with the jumbo lump crab meat salad and found it a bit too sweet and sent it back. They made her a new one, which was perfect. For her main, she ordered Mediterranean tuna steak, also perfect. If you're finding me overusing the word perfect with regard to Explorer's food, sorry about that. It is that good. I have done extensive online research, particularly regarding how customers who have sailed on the legacy luxury lines compare Explorer's food with others, and the results are clear. Very favorable. Although I did learn that Seabourn prides themselves on unlimited caviar, even via room service. Now that's something I'd like to try. All our other meals were taken at the Emporium. Here's a fact and then a hypothetical. The fact is, there was literally no food on Explorer that was mid. It was all outstanding. And the hypothetical? I believe you can eat for 30 straight days in the Emporium without repeating your food.
We did have a couple of snack items in Cafe Crema, the excellent espresso bar. They offered small club sandwiches, but mostly small cakes, tarts, and cookies. Paul tended to go with lattes with a shot of either coconut or vanilla syrup and a delicious vanilla tart. I can't remember the name of, but I typically went for cappuccino and cookies. Explorer also had a place for ice cream and crepes. In addition to soft serve, they had several rotating flavors of hard ice cream, sorbets, and gelatos. Paul's favorite, along with delicious cookies, my favorite.
Food really sets Explora Journeys apart from every cruise experience we have had. The other, a close second, are its spaces. Regular listeners have heard me characterize myself as an extreme introvert. Some of my friends find it ironic that I am an introvert that is passionate about sailing in a closed-in space with thousands of strangers. Cheryl is also an introvert, but when we are out together, does the hard work for both of us of acting like an extrovert. Explorer is a ship where an introvert can do what they like to do on the ship. For me, staring out at the ocean while I am creating or consuming digital content in a space that provides me a great view in relative solitude. Well, solitude except, of course, for Cheryl. And the Explorer abounded in such spaces. It was an introvert's paradise. For example, I have been on other lines that offered cabanas that provided the kind of solitude I am referring to. They costed hundreds of dollars for several hours. The cabanas on Explorer were free, and they provided similar, uniquely private spots throughout the ship's, I think, 5 pools. Usually, outside, we'll stay in a spot until the sun shifts and it gets too hot. And then we move and find another unique spot. We once found a wonderfully shaded area in the main pool, which was indoors but had a retracting roof. On this particular day, the roof was open. After a couple of pina coladas, we relaxed and then essentially slept the day away. The converse of this is if you want a ship with non-stop activities, then Explorer is probably the wrong choice. You may even find it boring. For us, it was our vibe, and there is no doubt in my mind we'll be back. The day before we disembarked, we ran into a couple playing pool on Explorer's infamous pool table. This is a massive pool table outfitted with a gyroscope system to keep the balls from rolling when the ship moves with the water. Each of us surmised what the pool table costs. I guessed $40,000. The 30-something woman playing guessed $200,000. It turns out the guy she was playing with, was disembarking the next day along with us. But the woman was staying on Explora for a whopping total of 60 days and traveling to Europe. She will definitely test out my theory about eating in the Emporium for 30 days straight and never eating the same thing. I won't mention her name, but I am hoping that she agrees to be on the podcast, and it sounded like she does plan to do so. If you're listening, I hope you are still enjoying your cruise, and I look forward to hearing from you. By the way, do any of our listeners know the cost of that pool table? If you have a verifiable source, text me via the show notes, and I will give you a shout out on the podcast.
Before we go, let me clarify a few things. Although I made the ship sound like just a place to relax, and the ship was modeled after a luxury boutique hotel, there was a full schedule of activities, things like lectures, music performances, wellness activities, and the like. No bingo, trivia, pool parties. Not going to talk about port stops. They range from very mid to outstanding, with a couple of nice excursions. But this discussion is about the ship. We do have a couple of regrets. We didn't take advantage of our free access to the spa. We didn't take advantage of the yoga classes. We did not partake in any lectures. A big miss on our part as lifelong learners. Missed the small casino. We were intrigued by its diminutive size. Found out very late in the cruise we could get lobster on our pizza. Due to the thrilling end of the NBA season, we did not take advantage of any of the music performances in the theater, which was designed in a cozy jazz club style. Did have a conversation with an interesting performer, though, about coming on the podcast, so fingers crossed. The regrets just give us that much more impetus for getting back on Explora Journeys. We'll talk soon, and as we like to say,
we'll see you on the ocean.
The Joy of Cruising and Cruising Interrupted, each $16.99 plus shipping, and new release, The Joy of Cruising Again for $18.99 can be ordered at the link on thejoyofcruisingpodcast.com. For each of the 3 books, use the discount code Joy of Cruising Podcast and get $4 off. The Joy of Cruising books are also available at Amazon. Order the ebook at Amazon or your favorite online retailer. Stay in touch by joining the Joy of Cruising Podcast Facebook group or following the Joy of Cruising Podcast on Instagram. We're constantly adding new shows. Please leave a review and tell a friend about us. We hope you enjoyed this brief escape to the ocean. See you next week.